Hi everybody, this is my first YouTube video and I'm not quite sure how to do it, but um, I did want to say the purpose of this video isn't to get pity or anything from anybody. Um, I'm really hoping that by telling my story and things I've been through that I could really help at least one person out. Um, This isn't easy for me to do. It's not easy to let everybody know things that I've done, things that I've been through. But I feel by letting people know a lot that I could at least help one person that would be in my spot. So, my name's Lorelei. I'm 30 years old. I have been doing drugs since I was about 22. Um, I guess the best place for me to start is at the beginning. Um, I never grew up in a family where drugs were around or anybody did drugs or anything like that. I grew up in a really good family. We had so much fun. We would go places, do things, very loving, very there for you. Um, when I was 18, I met a guy who I thought was my world. Um, I was with him for almost 3 years. We had a perfect, beautiful little baby boy, and I thought my life was great. I had a job. I was going to school. I had my own place. I was doing really good for myself. I was being a real good mom. Then some things happened. He became very abusive, broken bones, dislocated bones, thousands of trips to the ER. Um, when my oldest son was 4 months old, he ended up being arrested and he was put on a no contact order between me and my son. Um, my cat Rosie, she decided to join. Um, so he was out of my life. I was being a single mom. I was doing really good. Then I met my older daughter's dad, and I thought I caught a winner there. He was never around at all through much of anything. Um, when my daughter was born, I went to my regular doctor because I was having some real bad back issues, and he prescribed me Vicodin. I was on that for a couple months, um, and then just one day I woke up and I took a look around me and I was neglecting everything around me. And even though the stuff was prescribed, I felt I was getting addicted. So I went back to my doctor and told him all this. And I told him I wanted help to get off of them. And he made a report to Child Protective Services. So Child Protective Services came in and they labeled me a drug addict right off ripped and no questions asked. And I fought and eventually they put me on Suboxone to help get me off of it, and the Suboxone seemed to make it worse. And then eventually I started overdoing my Suboxone, and everybody thought it was best that I didn't have my kids. So they came in and they took both my babies and placed them with my sister. When they took both my kids, I felt like I lost everything. I felt like my life was over. I stopped caring. I stopped everything. I didn't want to think, I didn't want to feel. I was mad at everybody else but myself. And soon my sister couldn't handle it anymore. She couldn't handle how I was treating her, and she made the decision that it was best that my kids get put in foster care. When that happened, I started buying pain pills off the street, and I was doing so much that I stopped visiting my kids. I stopped being there. I just got involved with the drugs. And then eventually it led to me finding heroin. I was homeless on the streets, not a penny to my name, but I constantly found the drug. And I became so addicted, and I wanted it so bad because it made me happy. I didn't think, I didn't feel. And in that time, the foster home that my kids were in, it was such a bad place. My daughter was only 2 and ended up with a broken femur. They were locked in closets. They were mistreated so badly. And I remember when I would talk to my son, he'd tell me, "Mommy." And then he'd say the foster mom's name and say, "She's naughty." And I'd blow it off because I was so high. My older son has a lot of mental issues because of what I've done. My younger daughter has no idea who I am. Well, my older daughter, she doesn't know me. She doesn't remember me. They're in a really good place now. But me being on the drug, I did so many stupid things. I was stealing people's checkbooks. I was stealing people's credit cards, taking money just to find drugs to get them. I got so bad that I ran. I ran from the state I was in, and I ran to different states to keep getting away from it, so I didn't get caught and go to jail. I eventually got caught and ended up being extradited from Iowa back to Wisconsin. I paid for what I did. I ended up on probation, and I thought everything was going to be good again, but I got released from jail. I was homeless. I had nowhere to go. My best friend's mom took me in, and me being the idiot I am, I was stealing her pain pills. I wanted them. I didn't want to think, I just wanted to be high. I kept stealing them from her, and she needed them so much, and I just kept stealing them. Then I got out of her house, and I was staying with some friends, and I met up with some more people, and I got back into heroin really bad. And when that happened, I met this older man who just wanted to be friends and help me. And I started stealing his pain pills from him. And I got so desperate one day, I didn't want to get caught stealing them, that I called the cops and said his house was broken into. And I was on probation at the time, and my probation officer had dropped me, and I was dirty, and he ended up sending me to prison. So in 2015, I was released from prison in Wisconsin, and I moved to Michigan. I thought coming up here, I'd be able to start over. I'd be away from all that. And I moved in with my mom and dad. And not even being out 2 months, I knew my mom and dad had pain pills, and I started stealing my dad's pain pills that he needed because of an accident they were in. My dad, I thought, because of his brain injury, he wouldn't know any better. He wouldn't realize what I was doing. And I just kept taking them and taking them. I eventually met somebody, and he was feeding me pills left and right, and I ended up pregnant with my younger son. And I thought things were great between us. Everything was good, but it wasn't. I just kept doing more and more, and I was on Suboxone, I was taking Adderall, and I wasn't prescribed any of it, all while I was pregnant. In August of 2016, I went back to Wisconsin for a court date, and it was a court date for the custody of my older two. I hadn't spoken or seen my older two since 2013. And the judge said during the trial that it was in their best interest to terminate my rights to them. So I ended up losing my older two. They're in a really good home, and the people are taking really good care of them. I know that. But their mom's not there. Their mom's not the one taking them to school or putting them to bed or there for their school plays or anything. I'm missing out on so much with both of them. In October of 2016, I gave birth to my youngest son. I thought I knew better. I thought I could beat it. When they tested my son for drugs, he came back dirty. When they tested me, I came back dirty. I remember he was only 3 days old, and CPS came and told me it was best that I leave, that I wasn't going to be taking my son home from the hospital. Days old, and I had to leave my baby boy because of some stupid choices I made. I was so sad. I kept apologizing to him. I kept holding on and just telling him I was sorry. I didn't want it to be like that. I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want to lose him. But because I couldn't get off the drugs, I had to leave my 3-day-old baby at the hospital. He was eventually placed with my now ex's mom. I got put on Suboxone and Vyvanse through the doctor. And I was here every day, bathing him, putting him to bed, feeding him, trying to be a mom. Things got really bad between me and my ex. He blamed me, and it was my fault that he got taken. Three months later, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And then my son was pulled from his grandma and put into foster care. I fought so hard. I fought so hard and so long. And eventually I got him back before he was a year old. And everything was okay again for a little while. And then my daughter was born. And me and my ex still weren't getting along very well. We were constantly fighting and arguing. And when my daughter was born, it seemed like things calmed down. But we didn't know it at the time, but she was really, really sick. I was just so tired all the time because she wouldn't sleep, she wouldn't eat. She had meningitis, and she had 3 bacteria in her bloodstream, and it almost killed her. They ended up rushing her to Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, where they said they didn't think she would make it through the night. It was so hard seeing her with tubes in her head, tubes coming out her nose. A tube had to be placed into her heart. I didn't want my little girl to die. It was so hard to go through, and I had to go through it alone because their dad was in jail, and I was trying to bail him out, and I was trying to be there for my son, but be at the hospital in case something happened. For a month, my daughter fought for her life, and she did make it. She made it. But because I was on Suboxone and Vyvanse during my pregnancy, she now has a heart defect. It's called a bicuspid aortic valve. And instead of having 2 flaps to control the blood flow into her heart, she's got 1. And it could eventually kill her. And I carry so much guilt around because I wasn't strong enough to stay off of anything. I feel like I did that to her. Things got a lot worse. I ended up missing my Suboxone appointments and my therapy appointments, and they kicked me out of the clinic, so I couldn't be on my Suboxone or anything anymore. And then one day, here comes my ex with heroin and meth. And I got hooked onto heroin and meth really bad. And I liked it because I thought it was giving me energy, and I was happy up doing things. I was whatever. Until I realized I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't taking care of either one of my kids. This is really hard to admit, and I'm not proud of what I'm about to say. But I would get so angry just when they would just wake up and just want me. I would yell at them because they were hungry. I would yell at them because they needed a diaper change. I would yell at them because they just wanted to play. Who does that to a baby? Who yells at a poor baby? They just wanted to eat. They just wanted their mom. the worst part is they would just sit there and smile. It was so mean to them. It didn't mean to be. It was just so mean. They just wanted to eat. They just wanted a diaper change. And because I was too sick to get out of bed, they ended up going without so many times. I didn't mean to treat them like that. I didn't mean to be so mean. They didn't deserve it. Things just kept getting worse, and I kept fighting with my ex. And one fight happened where it got really bad, and I got physical in front of both the kids. It's CPS found out. And they came over and they drug tested us both, and we were both dirty. So they came over one day when I wasn't here, and they took them. I wasn't even here when they took them. They were probably so scared. I used to do visits with both of them, and the first couple visits were so hard. My son, they had to pry him out of my arms. He didn't want to go. He was screaming and crying. He didn't want to go. But because I did everything I was doing, they had no choice. We're replaced with some really, really good people right now. When they got taken, the drugs got worse, the fighting got worse. In December last year, I ended up dropping dirty. So I got arrested from probation, and while I was sitting, I kept having new cases pop up. I was writing out checks that were no good to get money to get more drugs. I ended up sitting 7 months in county, and during that 7 months I got sober. I got my head on straight, and I started realizing a lot of what I was doing and how I was acting and people I was hurting. And I had to come to a lot while I was sitting in the county about what kind of mom I was, and I made the decision then and there. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I didn't want to be a liar. I didn't want to be manipulative, conniving. I didn't want to be a cheat. I didn't want to be a thief. I didn't want to be any of that anymore. I just got out of jail a week ago, and I still haven't been sentenced on any of my charges. the judge decided to give me a chance before I got sentenced to prove that I have changed and that I can do better. Unfortunately, being released from jail, my now ex, who I was with for 4 years and had 2 kids with, he admitted he cheated on me twice, probably more, but he had 2 other people that moved in with him, and they ransacked all my stuff. So I got out of jail to pretty much nothing. And I ended up making the choice, because he wouldn't give up his lifestyle, that I had to walk away from him. And I had to make that choice, not just for me, but for my kids. A few days ago, I got a call, and they told me that I would be able to see my kids again. And we're trying to get a hold of the caseworker to start up visits. So I had to do it to protect myself and to protect my kids, so that I could stay sober and make a better life for them. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I don't think about using or I don't think about drinking, because I do. It would be so much easier to deal with the pain of what I have done, deal with the guilt of what I've done, and to deal with the pain of losing the one person that I was ready to give my life to. The one person that I thought would always be there for me. But I couldn't do it. I love my kids, and I want my kids back so bad, and I want to stay sober. I'm sorry, this is kind of hard. I pretend like everything's okay, like I'm doing okay. And sometimes I actually think I am. But then there comes those times that the memories and the feelings just, they're overwhelming. And I haven't used, I'm still sober, still clean. I just wish there was an easier way to deal with it all. The whole point of this is, if I could deal with everything that I have done in my past, to my children, to the people, my family, my friends, and still stay sober, then there is hope. There's a lot of hope out there for people. You might think people are trying to get on your case or are against you, but they're really not. They're just trying to help you. And if I would have realized that earlier, I probably wouldn't have been in this position. I probably would have still been sober a long time ago, you know? Like I said, I'm not looking for pity from anybody. I'm not looking for anything. I just want to try to help somebody, even if it's just one person, if they can get the message of this, and they can have the hope that life can be better and life can be different, and you can make up from your past mistakes. People are there to help. There are some people that don't ever get that chance to make things up. There are some people that don't ever get that chance to experience life like this. And I really hope that with this video, I can just help one person. I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I'm not. I'm so far from perfect. And I'm not saying that this is going to be easy. This is probably going to be the hardest thing I've had to do in my life. But it's worth it. To be alive to see tomorrow, to not have to be high, to not disappoint or let people down, to not hurt anybody anymore. You think you're just hurting yourself when you're using drugs, you're not. you're hurting so many more people around you, and people that don't deserve it. I didn't realize how many people I hurt until I got sober. And then I realized for some it was too late to try to make it up to. But then others, they stuck around and they believed in me. They gave me that extra chance, even though I honestly didn't deserve it. I've stolen from friends, I've stolen from family, I've lied to everybody, I've used people, I've abused people, I've hurt innocent people, and that's just not the way anybody needs to live their life. Everybody thinks drugs are so fun. You hear them in songs, you see everybody out there living up the life. But really, it's not. You're miserable. You just don't want to show it. I did it because I didn't want to feel and I didn't want to think. I didn't want to feel the guilt or the pain. And it's been hard doing it sober. It really has. But I have so many people that believe in me that I know I can do it with their help and with my mind frame now being the way it is. I can do it. I know I can. And I know other people can. It's really not too late. If you've taken anything from my story, you could see you can mess things up so bad. And you could feel so bad about yourself and everything you've done, but it can get better. I've hurt two of the most innocent little babies in the world, but I'm getting the chance to make it up to them. So please, if you're out there and you're addicted to drugs, get help. It's not too late. You don't want to miss your chance like so many other people have missed. It does get better. It honestly does. Thank you for watching this video and listening to my little cry fest. There are people out there that want to help you. Just take the time and get help.